Hey guys, Mike Perlman here for Techno Buffalo, and I want you to say hello to my little friend. This is the Sony CyberShot DSC TX66, one of the smallest digital cameras in existence. How did this wafer-thin little rascal do in my full review? Let's find out after this awesome Techno Buffalo intro. Hello and welcome to my review of the Sony CyberShot DSC TX66. This thing is one of the smallest digital cameras I've ever reviewed. Sony touts it as being about as thick as a AA battery. We'll just jump right into it with design. Check it out next to an iPhone. It's a little thicker than an iPhone, but the iPhone towers over it. Now check it out next to a stack of business cards. It's about the same size. How about Vincent van Gogh? It's even smaller than Vincent van Gogh. I got one more test here. Don Mattingly, Golden Glove winning Don Mattingly. Smaller than Don Mattingly. The TX66 is very swanky because it has this faceplate on the front that could be shoved downward, and it powers the camera right on. The other nice thing about the TX66 is that the back houses a 3.3-inch OLED touchscreen, capacitive touchscreen LCD with a resolution that's over 1,000,000 pixels. So this thing is just really, really refined, beautiful. The only other external controls to speak of, there's an on-off button, but you'll never use that because you'll take advantage of this nice sliding faceplate action. There's also a shutter button, and there's a small, awkward, rigid zoom toggle, which is not very great. Another note is that this camera has a very small battery pack, so expect limited battery life, and it runs on micro SD cards. It records images and videos to micro SD cards. They're a pain in the keister, but with a camera this small, what do you expect? Now, perhaps one of the best things about the CyberShot TX66 is its features. The technology of this camera far surpasses most cameras in its price range, and its menus are far superior. First off, there are two separate auto modes. There's an intelligent auto mode, which recognizes up to 36 scenes, and then there's a superior auto mode, which actually takes up to 6 images in different scene modes and at different shooting parameters. The TX66 also has a nice sweep panorama mode. However, with Sony's, you've got to be careful because if you don't pan fast enough, it won't record all of the image and you'll get this black portion at the end. So you really have to twirl quickly, even though that's going to make you dizzy and you might fall off a cliff. I was really impressed with the scene selection. There are things like backlight correction and HDR, there's night scene, there's handheld twilight, there's pet. The TX66 has excellent autofocus and it's blazingly fast. Face recognition is awesome because it prioritizes adults and children. And the TX66 has one of the best playback modes on any digital camera. Zooming in on an image is so smooth. You can also swipe from side to side. You can tap, you can drag, and you can also apply effects and fun filters in playback mode. The menu system and the touchscreen sensitivity is fantastic with the TX66. This is what a menu on a digital camera should be. But one of my favorite modes on this camera was the picture effect mode. Now, here you could do things like HDR painting, illustration, there was watercolor, you could do miniature. As far as features go, the only hang-ups I had with the TX66 is that it's a little bit slow, especially when you power the camera on, and sometimes rifling through menu options it's a bit slow. Also, some of the scene modes are a bit gimmicky, so you're going to want to stick with auto or program, or if you want to do some picture effects. Now, while the design is really nifty and the camera features technology out the wazoo, I wasn't that crazy about the image quality. But there's a caveat here. This camera has an 18.2 megapixel sensor. Those are some big ass pictures. And obviously most owners of this camera are not going to be blowing up 18.2 megapixel posters. You're going to be throwing pictures on Facebook and Flickr and things like that. So that's why I think Sony went with this giant pixel count. When you size these images down, they look really good. Especially on the OLED screen, they look amazing. Now, the CyberShot DSC TX66 has AVC HD video 1080 60i. That means interlaced. It's going to output as 30p. So while I would have liked to have seen 60p on this camera, the quality of the video is pretty impressive. You can also shoot in MP4 as well. The only downside to the TX66 is that its low light performance in video mode is really not great. While we're talking about low light quality, with still images you're going to have to rely on the flash a lot and the high ISO scene modes for night. So overall image quality with the TX66 is good. I've seen better in this price range, but because of that big pixel count, when you size them down, they're going to look fine for most shooters. So what's the Buffalo call with this 18 megapixel stack of business cards? I really love this camera for its diminutive size. I love the technologies involved in this camera. The menus are awesome. It even comes with a freaking stylus. The image quality is not the best at full resolution, but like I said, most people are going to be sizing these images down to a fraction of what they are. They're going to look fine. I think the CyberShot TX66 is going to be a very popular camera. If you could find a TX55 from last year, you should be fine as well, because not much has changed. For the entire Sony CyberShot DSC TX66 review, go to technobuffalo.com. I'm Mike Perlman, and I'll see you guys later. Blimey! It's even smaller than Tinky Winky!